Most people are convinced that intelligence is determined at birth, but in reality, your lifestyle literally shapes the physical structure of your brain every single day. This process is called neuroplasticity. Our brain is constantly rewiring its neural pathways, adapting either to deep focus or to endless distractions. Today, we will break down 6 non-obvious habits that might be leaving you feeling mentally exhausted even if you think you are doing everything right. Make sure to watch this video until the end, as we will cover the most destructive habits and unexpected science-backed solutions closer to the finale. Let's start with the first trap that almost everyone falls into. The first habit that subtly erodes your intellectual potential is the illusion of productivity, known as multitasking. Many people take genuine pride in being able to reply to work messages, scroll through their news feeds, and write a report all at once. It feels like we are doing several things at the same time, but in reality, the human brain is physically incapable of this. Instead of working in parallel, it simply switches from one task to another at breakneck speed. In neuroscience, this phenomenon is called the switching cost. Every time you get distracted by a pop-up notification or quickly check your email while doing demanding work, your brain requires a massive amount of energy to refocus on the original task. Imagine driving a car and constantly slamming on the brakes, only to immediately floor the gas pedal again. The engine will quickly overheat and break down. The exact same thing happens to your prefrontal cortex. These constant micro switches lead to cognitive fatigue. This is why, at the end of the day, you might feel completely drained and mentally sluggish, even though you didn't actually get anything important done. To fix this, start training your focus like a physical muscle. Set aside just 20 minutes during which you will dedicate yourself to only one specific task. Put your phone in another room, close unnecessary browser tabs, and turn off music with lyrics. Since our language center automatically tries to analyze song texts, which also drains valuable cognitive resources, 20 minutes of pure focus will yield better results than 3 hours of frantic multitasking. The second habit is closely linked to what we choose to fill our attention with. This is the superficial consumption of information, which inevitably leads to superficial thinking. Today, millions of people spend hours scrolling through short vertical videos, reels, and TikToks. It seems like a harmless way to unwind and kill time, but neuroscience suggests otherwise. Our brain operates on a use it or lose it principle. If you feed yourself tons of ultra-short, fast-paced content every day, your brain rewires itself to fit this format. It gets used to receiving pre-digested, bite-sized information in 3 seconds and triggering an instant dopamine hit in response. The moment you face a complex real-life task that requires prolonged reading, deep analysis, or constructing long chains of logic, your brain literally rebels. It becomes bored, uncomfortable, and unbearably difficult because the neural connections responsible for complex thinking have simply atrophied from disuse. Your thinking becomes just as fragmented and superficial as your social media feed. To restore depth to your thinking, give your brain a mental workout. Start reading material that is slightly above your usual comfort zone. This doesn't have to be overly dense academic dissertations. High-quality journalism, long-form articles, complex essays, or classic literature will do just fine. The key is to read mindfully, taking short pauses after paragraphs to ask yourself why the author holds this perspective and whether you agree with it. This will force your prefrontal cortex out of sleep mode and get it to actively process information, rebuilding your cognitive abilities. The third habit that slowly but surely erodes your intellect is neglecting sleep and taking pride in working to the point of exhaustion. In today's world, sleep deprivation is often framed as a sign of strong willpower and high productivity. However, from a biological standpoint, sleeping for only 4 or 5 hours and hoping for a sharp mind is like trying to charge a modern smartphone with an old, broken cable. Sleep is not just passive rest. In fact, during sleep, your brain undergoes large-scale maintenance. This is when a clearance system is activated, literally flushing out the metabolic waste and toxic byproducts that accumulated in your brain tissue over the course of the day. If you don't get enough sleep, this waste remains trapped inside. Imagine if the trash cans in your office weren't emptied for weeks. Very soon it would be impossible to even be there, let alone work. The exact same thing happens to your neurons. They literally suffocate in their own waste. It is scientifically proven that sleep deprivation drastically reduces activity in the prefrontal cortex. This is the exact area responsible for logic, focus, and self-control. Without proper sleep, you physically lose the ability to think strategically, become impulsive, and make foolish mistakes out of nowhere. No amount of caffeine can replace the deep sleep phase, during which the brain repairs neural pathways and consolidates important memories into long-term storage. 7 or 8 hours of sleep is not a luxury, it is a vital vital cleaning and reboot of your primary operating system. The fourth habit that destroys your potential is physical stagnation or a sedentary lifestyle. We tend to think that exercise and physical activity are only for building a great physique or strengthening our heart health. But in reality, movement is a powerful way to train your brain. When you sit motionless in front of a computer screen for hours, your brain literally starts to fall asleep. Without regular activity, overall blood flow decreases, meaning the brain receives far less oxygen and nutrients necessary to maintain fast cognitive processing. But there is also a deeper scientific aspect. Physical movement lowers stress hormones, specifically cortisol, which, when chronically elevated, literally destroys memory cells in your hippocampus. Yet, the most crucial benefit lies in training your willpower. Every time you overcome laziness and force yourself to move despite not wanting to, you train a specific neural pattern in your prefrontal cortex. You strengthen your ability to take action without relying on fleeting motivation. This pattern of overcoming resistance then automatically transfers to your business, work, or studies. If you can't bring yourself to do even a simple physical warm-up, your brain will find it incredibly difficult to concentrate on complex intellectual tasks. Physical activity isn't about setting records, it's about fueling your mind with energy and discipline. The fifth habit that literally erases your capacity for deep thinking is the dopamine hijacking of your attention. All modern apps, social media platforms, games, and pop-up notifications on your smartphone are designed with one single goal: to hack your brain's reward system. Big tech neuroscientists have spent years developing algorithms that exploit our evolutionary vulnerabilities. Every time your phone vibrates or a notification icon lights up on the screen, your brain releases a microdose of dopamine, the hormone of anticipation. You open the app, receive a quick visual stimulus, and the loop closes. The problem is that with this constant stimulation, the dopamine receptors in your brain gradually lose their sensitivity. The brain adapts to this extremely high level of artificial noise. As a result, ordinary real life, reading a challenging book, studying, working on a project, or long-form reflection start to feel unbearably boring. Your brain simply lacks the resources to enjoy long-term processes because they don't provide an immediate payoff. Your ability to concentrate on what matters atrophies like an unused muscle. To regain control, you must protect your brain from this overstimulation. Turn off absolutely all non-essential notifications on your phone. Keep only critical calls active. Learn to tolerate brief moments of silence, like when you are standing in line or riding an elevator, without automatically pulling your smartphone out of your pocket. Your brain vitally needs downtime to calm the dopamine system and restore the natural sensitivity of its receptors. Only then will you regain the ability to focus on complex goals for hours at a time. The sixth habit that negates all your intellectual efforts is automatic emotional reactions. You can possess a phenomenal intellect, speak multiple languages, and masterfully solve complex technical problems, but none of it will matter if you are emotionally unstable. Most of the most destructive, foolish, and costly mistakes in careers, business, and personal life are made not because of a lack of knowledge, but due to an instant impulsive reaction to stress, criticism, or anger. When you encounter an unpleasant trigger, the amygdala, the ancient emotional center of the brain responsible for survival, instantly takes control of your behavior. At that moment, the prefrontal cortex, your rational thinking brain, literally shuts down. You enter fight or flight mode, making impulsive decisions that you will regret for a long time. Your intellect temporarily drops almost to zero because your brain's resources are directed toward an emotional explosion rather than logical analysis. To correct this, you need to learn to take a conscious micro pause. The moment you feel anger or frustration starting to boil up inside, force yourself to take a deep breath and delay your reaction for at least 3 seconds. This short delay physically changes the distribution of activity in your brain. It gives your thinking prefrontal cortex precious time to engage, evaluate the situation from an objective standpoint, and take back control from the emotional amygdala. The ability to restrain that first automatic impulse and act rationally is the clearest indicator of truly high intelligence. To sum up, remember, you don't need perfect genetics to become smarter. Successful people's brains operate more efficiently simply because they have built the right habits. In neuroscience, consistency always beats sporadic effort. 20 minutes of deep focus every day will do far more for you than a single intense burst once a month. Consistent repetition will gradually turn effort into second nature, physically rewiring your brain. Put this knowledge into practice to unlock your true potential. Subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you are ready to let go of the habits that are holding your intellect back. See you in the next video.